The second day of Diddy's ongoing criminal proceedings turned out to be, somehow, even more excruciatingly tense than the initial day. This time it was Cassie who was called upon to provide her testimony. She entered the courtroom clad in a flowing, brown gown, visibly pregnant at around 8 months. There was no exchange of looks with Diddy. No acknowledgement, not even a faint smile or slight nod. She simply proceeded directly to the witness stand, as though this exact moment had been on her mind and in her preparations for countless years. Perhaps that was the case. Her voice, though soft in tone, carried a consistent steadiness. She didn't shed tears. She didn't tremble. She simply recounted her experiences, and they were nothing short of chilling.
I mean, the jury had a whole night to process the disturbing details of these freak-offs that were laid out yesterday through the eyes of Cassie Ventura. The graphic details, the alleged abuse, the drug abuse. Today, they didn't have to use their imagination, though. It got real in that courtroom today when the jurors, not the public, not the press, when the jurors saw still screenshots from these freak-offs. There was something so uncomfortable about the moment. Watching the jurors see something so raw and so personal in a courtroom full of eyes and full of opinions. Cassie was the most emotional we've seen her. At times even reflecting when she heard the words come out of her mouth, saying things like, "I can't believe I dealt with that." And you gotta understand, these aren't gigantic courtrooms. Cassie and Diddy are not at opposite ends of a football field. They are feet from one another. And the only thing between them really are their lawyers. And even though all eyes were on each of them, I don't think they ever looked directly at each other. Not when she walked by him, not when she was testifying, not when at times she broke down sobbing, remembering how she loved him and just wanted him to say sorry for the things that he had done. Now, when she talked about not wanting to live anymore, or her opioid addiction, or lying to her mother about the abuse or when it started or the extent of it, the audience was shifting uncomfortably. And sometimes, so did she.
She said Diddy beat her.
She recounted being physically assaulted by Diddy, administered drugs against her will, kept in isolation, trafficked, and even recorded while engaging in sexual acts with male sex workers. Multiple times, not just once or twice. These encounters occurred in various locations: hotel suites, his personal residences, sometimes while he looked on. Cassie explained that, at a certain point, she stopped resisting altogether. She expressed feeling more like a possession than a human being. She testified about living without real friendships, without a genuine support network, and without any truly safe exit strategy. She said Diddy recorded those moments, sometimes playing the videos back to mock or control her emotionally. Other times, she claimed he weaponized them as threats, saying if she ever walked away, the footage would destroy her. Earlier that same day, another witness, a male escort named Daniel Phillip, testified as well. He said he was compensated generously by Diddy to engage in sexual activity with Cassie, while Diddy observed quietly from a corner of the room. He described Cassie's demeanor as deeply fearful, almost robotic, and when he left that encounter, he said he felt physically ill, as though what had just occurred wasn't truly consensual, regardless of the legal technicality.
To hide under a toilet to get away from Diddy. She revealed getting a gash by her eyebrow after he threw it into a bed frame in front of her friends. She said she got stomped in the face on the floor of Diddy's Escalade for the duration of a ride home. And she claimed throughout their time together that she felt, well, powerless to make the choice to escape. Now, to make her point, Cassie talked about going to a hotel when Diddy beat her after a party in Los Angeles. She said she didn't want to stay, but felt she couldn't leave. She testified, quote, "It was not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to get out and move, to get out and not have anybody stop me." You know, Cassie went on to say, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. Cassie clarified her testimony from yesterday as well. saying that there were times that she did try to fight back or even initiated violence. She testified she did so earlier on in their relationship, but she quickly found out it could backfire, telling the prosecutors, quote, that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse for myself. When the prosecutor asked what she meant by that, Cassie said, quote, just make him more violent, make him stronger. Want to push me harder in that situation.
Cassie testified about moments where she had to hide beneath a toilet just to avoid him. She shared how she received a gash above her eyebrow when Diddy allegedly threw her into a bed frame in front of onlooking friends. She recounted being stomped on the face while lying on the floor of Diddy's Escalade during a ride home throughout their relationship. She testified that she consistently felt powerless, incapable of making any choice to leave him. To underscore this, she recalled being beaten by Diddy after a Los Angeles party. She checked into a hotel afterward, not because she felt safe, but because she didn't believe she had a real choice. She said plainly, "It was not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to escape and relocate without interfering."
Leverage, that's the word she used, leverage Diddy had over her. She said that leverage came in the form of blackmail, those videos specifically of the freak-offs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry. Cassie said, quote, one time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you. He just wanted to hurt me. Now, Cassie's direct testimony is actually now over. The defense, though, they're gonna get their chance to cross-examine her and go into the details again tomorrow morning. I want to begin with CNN entertainment correspondent Elizabeth Wagmeister, who you and I have been bosom buddies in this court. We've been sitting next to each other watching it all go down, and you have a unique perspective on all this and the coverage you've been doing. Talk to me, though, about the scope and of the violence and the intimidation that she laid out in court today.
Yeah, Laura, so as you said, her first day of testimony yesterday really focused on these freak-offs. Today focused on the physical abuse, the domestic violence. This was the first time that the jury saw photographic evidence of the injuries. You mentioned this gash on her eyebrow. We saw bruises all over her body, a black eye, a fat lip. I want to walk you through just some of the instances that Cassie brought up when she testified today. One time she said that she and her girlfriends, they went to Prince's party. Yes, the musician Prince. Diddy was there. He didn't know she was going to be there. He got angry and she said, quote, he f***ed me up. She said that after they broke up in 2018, that he raped her in her living room at her home.
Largely still during the entirety of her statements, arms crossed, his gaze locked forward, occasionally jotting down notes in his notepad. But notably, he never once averted his eyes. The courtroom was utterly silent as she descended from the stand. There were no murmurs, no reactions, just the audible clicks of her heels on the floor and the quiet closing of the door behind her. Cassie was merely 22 years old when Diddy introduced her to something he referred to as freak-offs. What initially sounded like some bizarre sexual fantasy quickly became a regular fixture of her life, a ritual that, she said, left her feeling degraded and devoid of worth. She spoke of an event in Toronto where she covered a black eye with her hair to conceal it. Afterward, they went to the Hamptons, where, at Diddy's request, another freak-off was arranged. They secured a hotel room and hired an escort named Dave. Cassie said she ingested the drug GHB and entered what she described as a G-hole, a state of near-total blackout. She awoke naked in a shower, with Dave and Diddy in a state of panic.
In the testimony, she said, then what? Ventura responded, I spoke to a friend of Sean's and then we had a freak off. And then they showed another photograph and it shows her eyebrow that had healed up a little bit a week later, and she has a permanent scar on her eyebrow, she said, from this. And she is shown another photo from the Cannes Film Festival. She said Sean accused her of taking drugs from his boat and threw her off of the boat, but her passport was still on the boat. She was on the red carpet for some type of event that night, and she said she attended the movie They then went to New York. There was a commercial flight that they took. She traded her seat to get away, but he traded to get next to her. What did he show you? Freak off videos. So we've heard about this, him showing videos and then using that as kind of blackmail material, if you will. She said that he played the freak off videos for me on one of his laptops. He said he would release them. So that's some pretty compelling evidence.
Cassie explained how Diddy maintained a detailed checklist for her appearance. Her nails had to be done a specific way. Only white or French tips were acceptable. Her body needed to be groomed, waxed, tanned, and in peak physical shape. He commented on everything: her chest, her figure, even her gait and speech. These weren't just sexual encounters. She was expected to perform. The first occurrence happened in Diddy's bedroom in Los Angeles. She didn't know the other man involved, only that he was compensated to participate. She had consumed ecstasy and alcohol beforehand in an attempt to numb herself emotionally. Diddy choreographed every detail: the lighting, the clothing, even the use of baby oil. He had her wear wigs and masks, transforming everything into something eerie and hidden. Legal analysts believe Cassie's account may become a pivotal element in the case's final outcome.
Workers that may have been involved, identify the locations, because again, in order for this to be a federal case, you've got to cross state lines. So if you have to establish that these activities happened in New York, happened in Miami, happened in California, that you were forcibly transferred or had to travel to each of these different locations. So the videos are going to be important from that perspective. But again, I don't think everybody's going to sit there and watch sex tape after sex tape after sex tape and watch Cassie be basically raped and brutalized 10 different ways from sunrise. I don't see that happening, but I do see some snippets coming in. But I do gotta say one more thing, because my inner prosecutor wants to go after what Brad said.
Yeah, I had a feeling Melba was going to have something to say about what Bradford was saying. So go on, Melba.
Yeah. But most importantly,
I think that Melba's bringing the velvet hammer to you, Bradford. Not a velvet glove, a velvet hammer.
Fantastic.
So go on,
She's
Melba.
always been fantastic. I welcome it.
Well, one thing I will say, first of all, is that sadly, I think all of us know people who have stayed in abusive relationships for a lifetime. And we know people that have died as a result of domestic violence relationships.
She described how a single freak-off session might span 3 or 4 separate phases. Some stretched through the night. Diddy controlled the start and end times. Eventually, they became part of a weekly routine. Cassie resorted to drugs like Molly, cocaine, and ecstasy simply to make it through the ordeal. Didn't refuse. Not because she agreed, but because she feared provoking him. She described Diddy's eyes going pitch black with rage, a look that terrified her. She told of attending a party hosted by Prince, the iconic musician, with her girlfriends. Diddy didn't know she was there. When he found out, he was furious. She said, "He beat me up." After their breakup in 2018, she testified that he raped her in her own living room. She also said it wasn't limited to her. He once allegedly dangled a friend of hers over a 17th floor balcony and struck another with a wooden hanger.
17 years, she described, and then they don't communicate any longer. I'm curious to see how the prosecution might develop those connections a little bit more fulsomely.
I saw him drag an assistant out of bed. I saw him punch Eli in his head. One time in Turks and Caicos, he dragged a person. I believe we had a freak off in Turks and Caicos. What floor did you live on at Comstock? The 17th floor. Did a friend stay with you? Yes. Sean came and held her and threw her on the patio furniture out over the balcony. I saw Sean bring her back in from over the balcony, and then he threw her on the patio furniture. And Carrie Morgan, I saw Sean hit her in the head. Did you get substances on your own? Occasionally, opiates. Sean would put pills in a vitamin C bottle on the sink in the New York apartment. He'd say, "You can take them." He had doctors who would write the scripts in his name of his assistant or in my name. Your brother's birthday party in Connecticut of 2013. What happened? My mother told me someone was taking pictures of me, and I went and punched her in the head. You testified that your relationship with Sean ended in 2018. How was your health? I was sleepwalking. I had PTSD. Defense rules objection. What is this? A photo of my front door in 2018. Publish it to the jury. Why is there a knife there? Sean was coming around a lot, so I had it. August of 2018, what happened? We have a closure conversation at a restaurant in Malibu. He was trying to convince me to go to Burning Man. Were you seeing anyone? My now husband, Alex Vine. What happened next? Sean came to my house and AR'd me on the living room floor. His eyes were black. It was like taking something from you. You cried? What did Sean do? He continued and finished inside of me and then got up and...
He testified that after such incidents, Diddy would simply rise and walk away. She said the only redeeming part of these sessions was the personal time she got with him. But even during those moments, she still felt unseen, as though she existed purely to serve a function. She recalled trying to express how deeply disturbed she felt. Diddy dismissed her feelings, calling her predictable. In one email, he asked, "Who you going to want to call someone?" He assumed she wanted to involve others. In truth, she only wanted him. They wore elaborate disguises, masks, wigs, high heels, fearing recognition. These events took place across the country. New York, Miami, Las Vegas, even Turks and Caicos. The staff provided everything: baby oil, candles, sometimes up to 10 bottles in a single night. That was the frequency and intensity of what was happening.
I went back to his house. Can you explain why you did that after he R-worded you? We had been together for 10 years. Who did you stay in touch with? Most people, though I pulled away. What did you message Sean about after that? Just checking in. What did he send you? That he had iPads full of images. Get him his money. Money back for what? For having paid my now husband to be my trainer. What did you write back? Do you want me to tell you the truth? It's much deeper than iPads. There's abuse more than freak-offs. There was a time that I couldn't take my pain and I tried to walk out in traffic. My husband wouldn't let me. I had trauma therapy. Did you write? A book with chapters. My mom helped. What did you want with the book? That Sean read it. What pain did Sean put you through? Shame to carry the things that were shameful for him. I took on a lot of responsibility for that I never should have. He brought the concept to me when I was 22. It was expected of me, and I felt terrible. How did you get the chapters to Sean? Through my attorney, and I reached out to KK. I asked her if he read it. She said it was not taken seriously. How much did you ask for the book? $30 million. Did you sue? November 2023. Why are you testifying in this trial? I can't carry this anymore. What's wrong is wrong. I treated people like they were disposable. Escorts, anybody. How many freak-offs did you have with Sean? It's impossible to know. Hundreds.
When Cassie described how all of this made her feel, she broke down. She said she felt like an object, something disposable. And the worst part? She believed deep down that this was all she was ever meant for. These weren't just private sessions. The spaces were deliberately styled, drenched in red, blue, and purple light like a music video set. They weren't meant for real people.
Sort of headshots of people, dozens that they have shown already, and they're trying to put that together. What we're still waiting to hear more from, including through the cross-examination, which they will definitely try to undermine, is to what extent Cassie herself was forced, coerced, threatened into sex trafficking, which must include her non-consent.
Combs' team will begin their cross-examination of Cassie Ventura tomorrow, which I'm sure she is dreading. What are you expecting from their cross?
They're going to have a strategy that takes into consideration optics. One of the things the defense didn't even want to do, they didn't want her to even walk down that center hallway as she passed by the jurors, visibly pregnant, to sit down and describe her life before she was a married woman with now 3 children expected, 2 already here with her. they're going to have to adapt in the sense of being straightforward, direct, but not allowing these jurors to conflate the yesterday Cassie Ventura with today. But I'll tell you, they have a hard task ahead of them in that sense, because as she was describing, Jake, the abuse at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs, including at one point saying that she had been kicked in the back, she moved her body to almost mimic that. The optics were real.
Take us inside the courtroom, Laura. What was Diddy Combs' demeanor while Cassie was testifying? Because I'm sure his attorneys told him to behave a certain way. Don't scowl at her, don't be angry. What did he do?
Oh, every defense counsel knows that every eye in that courtroom is on the defendant, trying to read every emotion, interpret every single look and glance. He kept his eyes trained on her throughout the testimony, often writing notes, however, to his counsel, leaning over, shifting in his seat, crossing and then recrossing his legs, and finally landing on a position where he held his hands, fingers intertwined on his lap before adjusting again.
Cassie said the rooms were often overheated, almost stifling. She mentioned the use of extra linens, not for comfort, but to prevent stains. Sometimes there was blood, sometimes urine. She was expected to participate even during menstruation. We already knew Diddy had disturbing preferences from prior allegations.
I'm with Puff, and he's in exotic bookstores, and he's doing shopping, right? He's shopping, getting his stuff and everything like that. So, you know, this is the first time I was ever in an exotic bookstore with Puff. So, you know, I'm giving him his space. He's taking things off the shelves and stuff like that, because they gave him a brown paper bag. When they gave him a brown paper bag, he was just putting stuff in there. So I said, damn, you know, he got to go put it on the counter and, you know, show everybody what he's getting. So as he's going, I'm just looking at the places where he's picking stuff from. So there's one part he picked up some things from up here on my left side. And then he picked like quite a few of them down. I was like, okay. He put them in the bag. So when I went by there and I looked up there and it said butt plugs. And I was like, hey, yo. I was messing with him. Because people don't understand, you know, we was like friends. He was a part of the same gang. So I'm still gonna tease him. I'm still gonna mess with him and everything like that. I could do that. It wasn't just no security thing. So I say, yo, what are you getting this for? And it said butt plugs, and he was like, yo, can I do my shopping by myself? I said, yeah, you can do it by yourself, brother. And he started walking and everything like that. When he got I just waited at the counter. When he got to the counter, he didn't even have to show the guy nothing. He just gave the guy a wad of money. I mean, like, he gave the guy a stack, something like this. And Puff wasn't the dude that carried no 20s and no 50s and nothing like that. And I mean, like, he just said, boom. And we walked out the store. So I'm here at the door and stuff like that, like, yeah. So then next thing you know, somebody rang the doorbell. We had the presidential suite where we was at. So I opened the door and the dude said, yo, I'm here for my cousin. I said, who your cousin? And he said, Ja Rule. I said, well, he busy right now. He said, he busy doing what? I said, he with Puff, they're in the room, they busy, they don't want to be bothered. He said, well, I'm going in there. I said, bro, you ain't going in there, because he told me they don't want nobody to be bothering them. He was like, yo, I don't care, man, I'm going in there. That bull like that. I said, yo, bro, Jesus Christ had to come down here and take the air out of my body before you get in that room right there. Watch. He tried to bum rush me. I grabbed it and threw him against the piano. When I threw him into the piano, Puff and Ja Rule runs out the room. Puff got his towel, Ja grabbing his towel, but they butt the naked. And so then Ja was like, yo, what's going on? Yo, Gene, that's my cousin. He know me well, you know, and Puff was like, yo, Gene, what happened? I said, he tried to get in the room. I told him he couldn't get in the room. And he was like, Puff looked at Ja. He said, yo, Ja said, you ain't want to go in that room because there's a lot of freaking going on. So I was like, oh, he said it was a lot of freaking going on.
And there's also allegations that Diddy's mom was a part of the freak-offs.
Oh, Diddy mom is being accused of helping Diddy steal money. It's a guy named D1 that's suing her.
I think that they accusing Diddy mom of stealing anything is wrong. All she did was allow him to put certain things in her name to protect. If at any time, because of some of the things that he was doing and the nature of what he was doing and he knew he was doing to people, if he ever sued, he'd probably be safe having money and things in her name. Do you understand that? See, I don't believe Miss Combs gave that stuff up a long time ago when she used to do her little modeling thing with her little ladies of the night, the little wild parties. When she gave that up, I don't think she was in the business. I don't think she was in the business to know exactly where the money's going, who how's coming in, who she taking it from. He was just doing it and putting it and had the authority to put it in her name. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, but let me ask you this. Do you think she knew what he was doing?
I believe she knew he was doing the freak-offs, but do I believe she knew he was allocating different monies to different places and which way it was going, which offshore accounts, which Swiss banks accounts and all this shit was going in? Nah. I think she just was enjoying the fruits of the labor.
But why you believe she knew about the freak-offs?
Because one of the witnesses said she was there. People had to take IVs. Remember the time that him and his mama kissed each other on the lips?
Yeah, I remember that video.
Do you remember that both of them was getting an IV at the same time?
Yeah, I did notice that, yup.
That's from the Diddy freak-off party. And I'm gonna say alleged.
So let me ask you this. You knowing her at one point, you knowing her personally, is she the kind of person that, you know, will be a part of a freak-off or no?
I think that she liked to party and she partied with young people. She's always been like that. She always copied or emulated Little Kim and Mary J. Blige, or they emulated her. The blonde hair, the nails, the high boots, the age-appropriate, inappropriate clothing that I want to say, because I know people going to drag me through it. What you mean? She's 70, 80 years old. She don't have to wear no, she can wear hot pants if she want to. Okay, all right. You can't make nothing dust moist.
Was she a freak?
I don't want to speak about that man mama like that, bruh. Was his mama a freak? I don't know that about her.
Y12 Cassie testified that both Diddy and another woman urinated on her. She didn't ask for it. She didn't want it, but she was high, overwhelmed, unable to resist. She recalled choking at one point. She felt revolted, dehumanized, but Diddy, she said, found it arousing. It wasn't a constant occurrence, but it happened enough to stay burned into her memory. She didn't scream or fight, because she thought it should have been obvious that she was not consenting. Staff would arrive after to clean the aftermath. Sometimes, the costs were enormous. Cassie is expected to continue her testimony over the next day or two. But this marked the first occasion where she shared her entire story, out loud, in front of him, and the world. It wasn't merely difficult to listen to. It was crushing. And this is just the halfway point. What do you think will happen in this trial? Share your thoughts in the comments.